Fight!
Good morning, afternoon, and evening everyone, Nick here and welcome back to the channel. All Costumes Ranked is back and we're covering another palette swap on here, the mysterious fighter in the Living Forest, Smoke. He's unique as for the longest time he was the only ninja in the games that appeared as both human and cyber ninja. With that, his designs are extremely unique and we'll be ranking all 14 of his designs from the worst to the best. It's been quite some time since I've done all costumes ranked, but I'll be ranking these based on how cool I think they are and how well they fit the character. Here are the ground rules for this series. For rule number 1, I'll only be basing off the original costume from a title, so if it's repeated, such as classic skins remade as DLC, that'll only count as one placement. I will make an exception for one, but we'll get to that later. Rule number 2, for this I'll only be looking at the costumes that appeared in the games, so his cyber design from MK Annihilation or his design from MK Legends will not be included. Rule number 3, I'll only be going off base designs without gear or color alterations. Since Smoke didn't appear in MKX, variations won't be included, but I will include the Smoke variation from Triborg in this list. Also, since MK1 included themed skins for each season in Invasions, they are just modifications of current skins, so those will not be included. Thank God, am I right? And rule number 4, we're not going to include story exclusive costumes. I'm not really sure if there are any exclusive to MK9 or MK1 story, but still establishing the rule here. As I always do with these ranking videos, I'll try to say something positive about each one of these costumes, even the ones that I rank low. Also, these are just my opinions and my opinions only. Let's have a fun discussion about this, and let's not make personal attacks about our placements, okay? With that, let's get right to it and rank all 14 of Smoke's costumes throughout the entire Mortal Kombat franchise. Oh boy, ranking Smoke's designs wasn't easy as I find all of them to be equally good or have their own way to stand out. Though I don't consider any of these to be the cream of the crop, I don't think any are really bad. Except this one. The bottom spot goes to the alternate design from Mortal Kombat Deception and his base design from Armageddon. I get the approach that they were going with, making him come off more as a vapor-like creature, as this is the era that characters started straying more into their supernatural-like forms, like Hellfire Scorpion, Ice-Coated Sub-Zero, and a literal reptile for Reptile. But I think this leaves much to be desired. I think the mask is the coolest part, but throwing a ninja vest on a monster featured in those Fears of Vaping commercials really doesn't work for me. I know this costume has its fans, but I was never too fond of this one. I always thought it looked really stupid. It's easily the weakest Smoke design, and it's clear to the NRS team as it's never been reimagined or brought into MK9 or MK1. Now sorry to those who really like this one, I do know this has its fans, so to those who really like this one, I'd really like for you to share down below what makes this stand out for you. But for now, this is the worst Smoke costume of all time. Speaking of mentioning reimaginings and MK1, we're looking at the latest title in the franchise, MK1. One of the most recent updates gave us costumes inspired by the MK95 film that kicks ass. Scorpion, Sub-Zero, and Reptile get their costumes, and Smoke too? Okay. Unfortunately, number 13 goes to the MK 1995 Smoke. Now, a bit of a hot take here. I never thought the MK movie ninja costumes looked that great to begin with. Smoke's really doesn't do a whole lot for me either. Now, even though this design is similar to both Scorpion, Sub-Zero, and Reptile, they at least have color that makes them pop out way more instead of just having gray. On top of it, there really aren't any additions to this one, so it doesn't pop a whole lot. It just looks like a very lazy version of the classic design. Now, I totally understand that they're really trying to stick to just the 1995 roots and not stray too much beyond that, but honestly, it just seems too simple and too plain if you ask me. I appreciate the effort, but this costume compared to the ninjas with a pop of color smokes this one out. Assembling our way at number 12 is the Triborg Smoke variant. Now, before I move ahead any further, I just want to say there is a huge gap between numbers 13 and number 12. From this point onward, I'd give these designs about a 7 and up. With that, let's take a look at the most recent and most playable appearance of Cyborg Smoke. As I've mentioned numerous times when covering anything regarding Mortal Kombat X, the saturation is dialed down so much on these designs, and as a result, not many of these costumes stand out a bunch in terms of color. Smoke does look good in terms of the armor and the style, and I do love the red accents in the suit, but the desaturation makes him come off more like a generic Lin Kuei cyber ninja rather than it being Smoke. I guess in order to compensate with that, they decided to have him coated in literal smoke clouds all over his body. Bro, we get it, you vape. If they had managed to reference the classic design more and incorporate more purple, or make it a little bit more gray, then I would be placing this much higher on the list. It's not a bad costume at all, but one that could use an upgrade to be placed higher. Wow, we're already looking at the best title in the series at number 11 with Smoke's base design from MK9. Okay, now hear me out real quick. There is a lot that I do like about this costume. For one, this feels like an arcade-era recreation of the character, with a big update being that he is more armored rather than dripped in gray cloth. I think it fits this version of the character very well. However, my biggest criticism, as well as the rest of the fandom, is attributed to his hair. I think it looks okay, but I wish it at least went for a different style. That, or if anything, I wish they gave him like a loose hood to differentiate himself from the other ninjas with tight hoods. Maybe have like a few strands of hair come down from the loose hood so it makes it stand out visually as well. Again, I really dig about 80% of this design, but I kinda lose it at the head. Change up the top and it could jump ahead a few more placements. Entering the top 10 with our second MK1 design, this being the MK9 costume. Full disclosure, I know I'm breaking one of my rules here, but this is what I was mentioning in the rule part, that I would be making the one exception. This time around, the torso and armor pieces have been completely reworked. Instead of mimicking the ninja vest from the arcade era, this actually looks more techy and multifunctional, or as what I've heard other people call it, MCU-ified. Somewhat stealthy but also flexible. They also updated the mask that comes with this gear piece, and it's more rounded out and less beak-like the one from MK9. Lastly, they even changed the hair a bit, a slight upgrade over the MK9 look. Now this is not enough to bump it up that much higher, but happy to see this costume get some love and attention, along with some fixes here and there. Jumping into the spin-off territory with Mortal Kombat Shaolin Monks. Many of you probably didn't know that Smoke made an appearance in this game, but deep within the living forest, you can connect with them to get these Smoke missions completed. Getting them all finished rewards you with a nice port of MK2 you can play. Now back on track, I do like some aspects of this design. For one, I think that the hood going with some more crown approach is a good way to stand out against Scorpion, Sub-Zero, and Reptile's hoods. Though his concept art with a more classic version just covered in vapors, I do appreciate them going with something completely different. Even if he just looks like a noob Cybot variant or just a generic Spirit Halloween ninja costume. I think that adding some of the symbols onto the vest and adding some silver accents to the body is a unique call, something I'd like to see done in a future Mortal Kombat 1 costume. Overall, a good idea drifting away from the usual Smoke design for something pretty unique. From the reimagined Mortal Kombat 2 to actual Mortal Kombat 2, we're looking at Smoke's debut design. After pressing down and start at the red portal stage, you are greeted with the gray palette swap ninja. Historically, I've always said that I preferred the MK2 ninja look over the UMK3 ninja design, but this time around, I think I prefer the other one. I still think that the gray pops nicely among the backgrounds of MK2's stages. I just think that they really got to work with them a little bit more as the series had progressed. I'd say this is a good start, but it's not my favorite. Definitely a nice treat to see this one get some treatment in Mortal Kombat 9. Definitely one of my go-tos when I play the character. Way to make a good first impression, but you'll definitely become more memorable when you become playable. Alrighty, making our way to lucky number 7 by looking at the second take on Cyber Smoke from Mortal Kombat Deception. I know many people aren't the biggest fan of this one, but hear me out. For one, I do appreciate how the helmet is actually different from Cyrax and Sector in the PS2 era. They actually put effort into making him stand out instead of just being a weird recreation of the MK3 design. In terms of that, he actually comes off way more robotic than the other two, rather than just looking like a guy in a suit. Big thing is actually looking at his waistline and looking at his arms. I also like that they don't add all of these distracting beeps and buttons like they did with the other two characters. It's also really fitting to his backstory, as he's a reprogrammed cyborg to work with Noob against his will. This is a great way of showing it. Also, another nice addition that I like that they made stand out is that he has these gas tubes that go into the back of his head into some tanks on his back. Another cool, creepy addition. I know many people like to bash on the waistline that Smoke has in this design, but I think it shows off more of his stealthy side, whereas cyborgs like Sector were bulky and were meant to be using more heavy weaponry like missiles. It's a cool way to incorporate the more ninja-like features into a cyber ninja. Overall, I think this one is very underrated, and it's one of my favorite cyber reimaginations. Trust me, I wouldn't be deceiving you on this one. Just edging out from the top 5 is the second attempt at doing a human Smoke look, his alternate or secret design from Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 and Trilogy. By pressing a combination of buttons in UMK3 or just simply selecting human Smoke, you're greeted with the ninja version of this character. Personally, I think he looks pretty good, even though he's just a white palette swap of Scorpion with a bunch of smoke effects emanating from his body. Similar to the UMK3 ninjas, I think the colors pop a bit too much as they're a little bit too bright, and in this case he looks less gray and more white instead. Along with that, a big issue I have with this one is that the smoke effects are the same color as his vest, so they tend to clash a bunch, meaning you really don't get the best look at him. Now, if they manage to recolor him, make him more of that bluish purple used for Cyber Smoke, that would help him out a bunch when it comes to having him stand out with all the smoke effects on him. Now, I know the big problem is that we now have a purple ninja and a blue ninja in the same game, so we really couldn't be doing that. Overall, not a bad design, still pretty iconic, but I think it could have been a little bit better. Thankfully, the tweaks were made when this was reintroduced into Mortal Kombat 1's new era. Let's finish up looking at these cyborg designs and look at the OG Cyber Smoke from Mortal Kombat 3. Honestly, this one is just so good and simple. I do like how they went with a bluish purple to not have the smoke effect clash with this design, unlike the human version. On top of it, it's also nice for it to clash with both Sector's red and Cyrax's yellow, so you have a yellow, red, and blue. Not a whole lot else I need to say about this one, but I covered a lot of what I had said previously in all Cyber Ninjas ranked, which you should check out above, so I don't want to repeat myself too much, and you should also check out that video. But it's a shame that we were just teased this awesome design in Mortal Kombat 1's story, and several times in Invasion. Seriously, NRS, please give us this costume, and I guarantee people would buy it. Or if David Zaslav is listening, it would really help Warner Brothers get out of debt a little bit. Overall, this deserves its spot in the top 5, and a great way to wrap up these Cyber Ninja designs. Jumping back into Mortal Kombat 9 territory by looking at Smoke's alternate costume. Featured in the Mortal Kombat 2 retelling of the story mode, this sees a heavily modified rework of his MK2 costume. A big change comes from replacing his cloth with silver armor, making him come off more as a bulky armored warrior. I really love the mask as well, kinda reminds me of MK vs DC Sub-Zero's mask. Now I know many people have stated that this is their favorite Smoke design. Unfortunately, I'm not in the same ship as you guys, so please don't throw your katanas at me. I think the armor is a little bit too much and it needs some more ninja aspects to it. Say if they managed to do what they did for Takeda's alternate costume in MKX by adding some cloth sash over his torso and maybe dial back the shoulder pads, then this could be a goated Smoke design. I really dig this one a bunch, but I think it's just a bit overrated. Like his armor, it's a solid design. Okay, I'm gonna get some heat for this, but the top 3 are all coming from Mortal Kombat 1. Starting things off by giving the bronze medal to his new era variants. If there's one thing I love that Mortal Kombat 1 did with the ninjas, is that they went back to the basics with the designs. Smoke is now wearing a gray Lin Kuei suit that matches Scorpion and Sub-Zero. It's just so cool. It gives him a legit reason to all look so similar, but I do appreciate the little changes here and there. These include how his wrist guards look different, he's equipped with more smoke bombs, and his mask, though it's kinda goofy, it looks more gas mask-like, as he's someone who doesn't have smoke powers, but rather someone who uses smoke bombs as a form of illusion and escape artistry. He also now uses a karambit knife, which I always thought was a wonderful addition to the character. Made a little bit more sense than using Scorpion's harpoon, if you ask me. And though I almost wanted to criticize his hair for not being like an Ondongo like unhooded Scorpion or Sub-Zero, I realized it made sense after looking at his bio and nationality, and he's still Czech. So I think the hairstyle works well with his nationality and his origin. Overall, it's a great way to rework his classic ninja look, easily earning its spot at number 3. Okay, this was a toss-up as these two were so close, but at the end of the day, I decided to go with this order. Number 2 goes to his Union of Light variants. Honestly, this one just kicks ass. I feel like my complaints for the MK9 alternate costume were addressed here. The armor isn't as bulky or as prominent, and there's more cloth included into the design, making it come off more stealthy than warrior-like. It's fitting for his costume and Smoke's character in Mortal Kombat 1. I even love the small Smoke decal imprinted on the loincloth, a fun detail I feel many people may have overlooked. My favorite aspect about this design is that it looks like someone actually put it together by hand with materials they had. Rarely do we see ninjas in modern Mortal Kombat have this implemented into their design, and that's what I love so much about the Union of Light ninjas. They really nail that homemade look. Overall, one of the best Smoke designs, earning the silver medal. It was hard to come to this decision, but our number 1 spot goes to the Order of Darkness variants in Mortal Kombat 1. In Shang Tsung's timeline, this is his version of the Vapor Ninja. Honestly, I just dig it so much. A lot of it has to do with the fact that it's taking a similar approach to the Union of Light variant in terms of silhouettes and shape, but this one seems more like it was assembled for war, actually being produced by a higher power. Similar to the MK9 alternate design, it's pretty armored with some elements of stealth included into it from the other MK1 variant. He's not wearing bulky metallic armor, it's pretty slimmed down like the previous one. Probably my favorite aspect about it is that it feels the most ninja in comparison to the most modern Smoke adaptations, completely shrouded in light armor and wearing cloth with barely any skin exposed. It's an amazing take on this character. Now I know Mortal Kombat 1 is still getting support, but as of right now, the Order of Darkness Smoke variant is the best Smoke design of all time. So there you have all 14 of Smoke's costumes ranked from the worst to the best. Which of these Smoke's designs was your favorite, and which was your least favorite? Comment down below and let's have a fun discussion about it. Now just remember that this is just my list, it's not the correct one, so let's not be jerks about our opinions, okay? I'm happy to bring back all costumes ranked. Please let me know down below who should be featured next. I know I'm trying to branch out into other series and fighting games, but I want to know who you want to see most. I've been planning on getting more of the ninjas, finishing out the rest of the color palettes, and some more fan favorite characters with limited appearances. I've also been working on 2 different videos covering guests, one being a history of MK's lost guest character, and another talking about weird guests in fighting games. So stay tuned for those coming soon. Now I know as of the recording of this, Ghostface's trailer is going to be dropping fairly soon, so stay tuned for a reaction there. And also, I do want to share a short with you coming up soon regarding some updates and changes to the channel. Stay tuned on more of that in the reaction video that's coming out soon. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to drop a like, subscribe, and share. Your support means a ton to this channel. While we're at it, let's try and get 500 likes. It would mean a ton. I can't thank you all enough. As always, thank you so much for your continuous support. My name is Nick, and have a wonderful rest of your day.
Fight!